Hello, farmers. Trevor here, and I am back for another episode of Oakfield Farms with Seasons Mod. And I'm standing down here by the bale storage and thinking about what we should do. This is straws all jammed up, and just thinking about, well, we can store grass bales, so we did figure out a way, call it cheaty, in a sense, to store grass bales. So I'd rather kind of avoid that, but what I think I'll do is on the little field, meaning, what was that, field 10, right? Let's, you know what, let's look at this, come on, that map. This map here, and we'll go over to turn on grass and go to grow. So we got field 10 right over here, hard to pick out, you know, but it's just a little tiny field. Maybe we'll do that with hay. A little bit of a pain to get all the way up there with the hay stuff. But then we'll just take field 2 and make it into silage. Because I think we can, if we overflow with it, and we don't want to quit game. If we overflow with it, first of all, we have a little more room for some silage bales. 77 versus, if we come over here, 53. You know, we'll add a few more hay bales to the pile, probably 10. But if we end up with excess, I don't think the silage is going to deteriorate if we don't put it in here. So I'm thinking, and here's what I was thinking, like the whole, I believe this was from one baling, right, before. So I believe we're probably going to get 43 plus 67 bales. So what's that, 100 more bales? So I think we're going to end up with excess silage bales to fit in there. We'll see if I'm right. But at least that way, I don't think, you know, we can stack the silage bales up out of the way somewhere over there or something like that. Sound like a plan? So I'm going to do all of that off camera. You guys saw me baling not too long ago. And then when we come back, we'll talk about these fields up here and their fertilization. We also could go ahead and do something with field 34 over here. And I guess we can go ahead and, you know, we could talk about what we do with field 15, but if we get out here and if we look at, well, see, the growth only says a little bit, but when we go up there, we'll look, and it looks like they're fully grown. But so maybe we'll wait and see. But when we come back after we get this baling done, but then we'll have enough grass and silage to sink a ship, considering we got no animals. But the other thing is, if we look at our seasons mod, and where's silage? There's silage. Silage sells for 500. It's pretty steady, so we could sell it anytime we want. Where hay only sells for like 100. So that's another pretty good argument for wrapping those bales. All right, so I'll get that done, and I'll meet you back here in a second. Talk to you then. Okay, we are back. I wanted to point out my pride in 146 bales. A couple of them fell over because I put them too close to that bank back there. But each one of these rows has about 40 in there. So there's 3 rows, 120, plus there's another 16, 24, 26. So 26 plus 120 is 146 bales. So they're not all going to fit in here, which is fine. We only have room for 77. So let me get this whoopster thing out. A little bit annoying, but at least you can run with this. You can't run with the chainsaw. So this is still grass. We have 71 hours to go before it turns to silage. So I didn't put them in that. I was afraid they'd just go into the grass thing. I probably should have tried one for an experiment, but, you know, it's fine. Let them sit here. And I think they could just sit out here, other than they're, you know, a little bit annoying there. I don't think they'll deteriorate. I guess we could find out. But there we go. So I wanted to point out the time. I really didn't mess around in the game, other than, you know, cutting the grass, baling it, and all that kind of stuff, wrapping them. It was around 9 o'clock game time. It's now 14:30. So, I mean, it was an epic project. I think if we're going to do much more silage, we will talk about other methods. I don't know if we can sell other kinds of silage. So, those bales, if we get 500 a piece for, well, $500 per 1,000, those are 4,000 each. You know what? I'm going to teleport up to here. Those are 4,000 each. So, you know, that could be $2,000 a bale. That's decent money. But let's see. Maybe there's a place we can sell the silage to a BGA or something. Haven't even looked. Going to focus on something else right now. And that is our oilseed radish. Once again, I'm a bit confused, which is not unusual for me in life. Almost not even an uncomfortable feeling at my age to be confused. But when we look at this map, and this is the growth chart, we are down over here. It's just this very first band of green. I don't even think, it's not even this dark, you know, it's not even the third green there. But if we get our old whoopster out and we point at the field, oops, we missed. Point down at the field. It says 100% grown. I'm pretty sure that's 100% grown, or is that 33% grown? Is that 100% growing and 33%? I should go look at that because I don't really want to harvest some of this, or do I? Do we want to just see what happens if we, let's just do a little tiny section and see if we can't tell. So if we look at, like, who cares, right? We can always just fertilize it up. So, oops, can we, there we go. So we can zoom in pretty well. I'll just do like 1 or 2 passes right up in this corner and see if we get any more. There's our fertilization. So we can see it's just this light blue in this field. And, you know, let's just see what happens here real quick. All right, start this bad boy up. Let's do a little V action. All right, we are down. Either way, like, you know, I mean, even if we're messing up badly, who cares, right? I want to move, I want to park right there because otherwise our little blinking dot will be right over where we're going to try to look here. All right, so let's go back here and look. Sure enough, we got, I don't know if, hopefully you guys can see that, but we definitely got fertilized, which is good. Now let's see something else. We got the second level of fertilization there, so that answers one question. Let's fold this guy back up for a second and spin around and come into this field. So I gotta just pull out there. Am I gonna destroy some of this? Does it matter? No, I don't seem to be making destruction. Well, you know what? I'm pretty confident. Let me even just start getting my GPS set up for this field. Why not, right? We are in field 12. Do a load. And we're going to go auto width. And then we'll see about, yeah, that field's, I'm just going to put it like that. Should be pretty good. We'll just do a tiny little corner here and then turn off the tractor and zoom on in. I can already see it from here. Let me get close so you guys can see it on the video, hopefully. Yep, there we go. We got light blue. So, yeah, I think what we're going to do is is some more oilseed radishes, right? Now, why are these still light blue? Is that because we didn't plow and all that stuff, or cultivate? You know, I didn't do anything in these fields. Yeah, I think maybe when we cultivate, do we lose some? I'm not sure why they're still blue. Maybe I'm just being a knucklehead about it. But, yeah, well, we'll see. But, yeah, I think I should go ahead and plant some oilseed radishes. Oh, this is a grass field. Oh, no, this isn't. This is potatoes. Why would potatoes have been... Oh, that was canola. That's weird. Why would the canola field still have that in there? Like, if we look up here at the cornfield... Yeah, I'm a little confused why field 9 still has that. These two are grass fields, so that makes sense. And this one we fertilized while we did the oilseed radish. So, yeah, I'm a little confused. All right, well, that's fine. Confused, like I said, is as you get older, you're more... Oh, no, quit. Quit that screen. So let me, let me do these two fields first here, and then we'll decide what we need to do next. But you know, chances are we're just gonna, you know, we'll probably even do that canola field. Let's take a look here real quick at the seasons map. Yeah, see, we could plant the oilseed radish, and it should get ripe, you know, by 7-9 here. You know, like 7-9. You know, the last part of and actually, yeah, oilseed radish. Actually, yeah, as long as we get it planted. Yeah, well, there we go. Well, let me do this because, you know, why not? And then, you know, when we get done this, I'll be back and we'll do some more oilseed radish planting. Nice, and we'll fertilize it at the same time because now we know for sure that fertilizing it will be a good thing, considering all things considered, you know? All right, see you guys in a little bit. Well, our fields are cultivated, and our windmill's spinning over there. Doubt you guys can see it, but I can. I was wondering what was moving. And let me jump over the fence here and remind myself, we'll even pull the Wooster out and read this field. We have some canola in here that I completely forgot we were doing a little experiment on. So we've only grown 17%, which makes perfect sense. We have good moisture and growth and all those kind of things, but I am really doubtful that this will come to anything, but we'll see. If it grows and it gets harvestable, or if it just dies off, we'll, you know, say at least we saw it happen, right? It didn't cost us that much, and plus done is done. And I think if it doesn't go to harvest, I'm a little bit curious if we come in here. We do have a layer of fertilization here on field 9. So I'm wondering if, you know, normally when you harvest it, you lose your fertilization. So I'm wondering if we'll keep that fertilization. So it really doesn't make that much difference, but we'll see. It's certainly not worth planting canola. Is it worth planting oilseed radish? So you see, we definitely got 2 layers of fertilization already. These fields are cultivated. You know, as far as their growth goes, there they are, cultivated. So they're kind of ready to plant, you know, next season. But the thing is, here, let's talk while we're driving back down. Oop. Okay, let's get rid of Wooster. All right, come on. There we go. All right. Spin this guy around. Let's turn off our GPS. Head over to this gate. So yeah, here are our fields ready to go. So is this worth it? You know, when we go to plant this field up ahead, all we'll have to do is plant it. And if we have a fertilizing spreader or fertilizing planter, we will be done. However, we also had to come in here and plant oilseed radish. So it wasn't like, I mean, the oilseed radish is definitely cheaper than the fertilizer, but then we had to come back again and cultivate the whole thing, which we wouldn't necessarily have to do, because if we're going to plant something like canola in there, we could have just used our cultivating planter, and we would have only had to come back once. Or would we had to come back? Well, we'd have to come back and spray it. So I would say this. It seems to me, at least my inkling, without giving it too much more forethought, is that it's really kind of half dozen one or the other. Like, I still had to come by and do two rounds, right, in order to get the oilseed radish. We had to plant the oilseed radish, and then we had to come back later on and cultivate, which we wouldn't necessarily have had to do. You know, and is that any better or different than running the weeder through there and getting one and then coming back later and spraying it? You know what I'm saying there? I think, in other words, the oilseed radish would make the most sense. Let's move over here. The oilseed radish would make the most sense on, say, the cornfield, where we don't have the planter that cultivates as well, because, you know, you're really, I think you're doing more work, or you're doing the same amount of work. Are we doing more work? Let me think about this. We went through, we planted the oilseed radish, and then we cultivated, and we got 2 layers. If we didn't do that, we would plant and cultivate at the same time, and we'd get 1 layer like we have on that canola field up there. Yeah, it's really probably about the same amount of work, and you do save paying for at least 1 layer of the fertilization. Where is this going? This goes in here. But it particularly, I think, makes sense on the cornfield. Sorry, as you can see, this requires severe concentration. Oh, come on, I thought I had it. It looks like I have it. Yeah, sometimes these hit boxes. Like, what am I hitting, you know? I shouldn't be hitting anything there. There we go. See, look, all of a sudden it just freed up. Oh, come on, don't go that way. Okay. Can we get in? It's pretty tight, but we made it. Nope, didn't want to get out. I want to do that. All right, so now the question is, can we get in here? So I think we come back. I guess we just pretty much determined that it's worth doing the oilseed radish. It'll save us the money of a fertilization. Yeah, there we go. We had switched over to canola on that field. So let's come on over here. Get a little bit of fuel, why not, since we're right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down, and I think we still have a growth cycle. Let's come over here to seasons mod. So I think this oilseed radish should grow right here, and we should be able to, anytime, like, we really can plant it. It'll definitely grow. Here it is right here, and we can, quote, harvest it at any time, which will be turn it over. And it certainly makes sense because we got to cultivate that, what do you call it, field anyway, the cornfield. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. I don't normally ever do because, you know, I don't really worry about it. Let's be honest. You make so much money that going through this extra work doesn't make sense. But we don't really have, all right, let's refill. And then let's switch types even while we're refilling. There we go, oilseed radishes. And then we are going to fertilize so that we'll get this to 2 layers of fertilization. And then when we plant I don't know that we'll plant barley back in this field. Good chance we will. Seem to be a relatively lucrative thing to do. We will be all ready. We won't have to fertilize after the planting, which is kind of good. But we will have to go through and cultivate. Oh, an extra. Oh, jeez, come on, drunken sailor. I don't know how much of all that rambling actually made sense, but the bottom line is, yeah, it makes sense to do this. It's certainly not a bad thing to do. Is it extra work? Nah, you know, it's about the same. I mean, other than the fact the sprayers covers a lot more ground, so I guess that's something to take into consideration. It does take longer, you know, to actually probably go through with this equipment twice as opposed to going through with the sprayer twice. Let's turn on our GPS and come over here, and we're in field 15. Let's load that. No, we can get this undoing. Not that it makes that much difference. Let's auto adjust. No offset. We went 9.8 or 10. The other one's 10. I always like to double check. Too many times have I... That's not it. That's not it. Where is it? You would think it would be right with all that other stuff. Maybe it is. I am missing it. All right, let's go this way. Is my scroll just jumping right past it? Am I just being really blind? I'm really just being blind, aren't I? This is not... Oh, there it is. I guess I was expecting it to be folded up like the other ones. So this one is 9, so we want to go with 9 meters. Even though it's showing up here, it's 9.8. There we go. Good enough. All right, so that's basically ready to go. We might adjust the line a little bit, but really this field doesn't have a straight edge on it, so it's not like it makes that much difference. You know, when you have a nice long straight line, that's usually the best place to line it up with, of course. All right, well, let me get to it. I'll come back when I'm going to go here. I'm going to do all of this, and we'll get that ready to grow, and then we will head on over to the cornfield, and I'll just get that one done too. It's really not that exciting to show on video the whole thing, so I won't. All right, talk to you in a minute. Yep, just putting the finishing touches on the cornfield up here. I'm still not convinced about oilseed radishes, I'll be honest. And the reason is I've spent a good amount of money. It's not free, you know. But if you notice, I refilled before I did this field, which is a pretty significant field. I think if you planted corn or wheat or some crops anyway, canola uses a lot of seed, right? You certainly would have gone through a bunch more seed. And I guess most of the cost there is the fact that, you know, we used, you know, pretty close to 1,000 liters of the fertilizer that was in here. Let's shut this thing off. Fold her up. So there you go. We got oilseed radish. That fold. We'll hop out for a minute and take a look at this. All right, so we have oilseed radishes now in 15 and 34. We got our stupid canola, which I think is just going to fail miserably. And if we come over to growth, it's just planted and fertilizer. So we have our first layer. I expect to get to layer 2. And then I'm assuming next year that it will, you know, be ready to go as far as when we plant again, we'll have the 3 layers. Now, the problem that I see with this is oops, which is why I was here. Fertilizer states you need to fertilize your fields, the amount of time you need to fertilize your fields for maximum yield. That doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it? Oh, yeah. Periodic required. So in other words, I think what's going to happen here is because we planted this crop, we're going to have to plow this again. And, plowing is a drudgery. I mean, it's, it doesn't do it at 24 meters at a time. Let's put it that way. So I don't know if it causes us to have to plow it like that one extra time, I'd really rather just spray it. I mean, even as it is, coming out here, if I had sprayed this field, we got it up to one layer, I plant, that's a second layer, and then I run my weeder through, that doesn't cost me that much, and it would certainly be better than plowing 33% more, or whatever that works out to. So we'll see. Let's turn off the GPS. So I think that's going to be about it for this episode. I think I'm going to go out to the grass fields and give them a spraying. No reason not to. Or I guess I could even run the weeder across them, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But yeah, well, let me stop for a second and we'll talk about that. I think it's a little easier to explain while I'm looking at the map. So here's our grass fields, 10 and 2, and they're going to need a re-up. And if we run that weeder over them, it doesn't cost us any money, and it fertilizes them. I don't know much more to say about it. I, again, think it's a little cheaty, but we don't have a lot of money up there. Not that spraying them costs that much more, but I think we'll just go the El Cheapo route at that point. I've always said it's not really cheating. It may be a bit taking advantage of the situation. But if you didn't want me to be able to do that in the game, I need to zoom in here because I can't see where we're going. If you wanted me to not do it, then don't make it possible for me to do it that way. I guess it's an exploit, I guess you could call it. This game's been out long enough, they could have removed that exploit if they wanted to. Alright guys, like I said, I think I'm going to call it an episode. I think I'll go out there and get the weeder going in the grass fields so that when we come back, it will be all ready to go. When will we come back? I guess I'll fast forward some days. Maybe we'll come back and, either before or after I cultivate these fields in, we'll take a look at our fertilization state at that point, and we'll see what happens. Maybe at least we'll come by that Monday, obviously, when it snows, and maybe when we come back, I'll give you guys my overall impression of what's pretty much, it's not a full year yet, but I don't know what more we're going to do when we can't plant any crops for the winter time. We will get to sell some stuff, so maybe that'll be, I think, coming up in the winter, a lot of these crops will come, so we'll see how much money we made. We're sitting on a lot of money in crops at this point. So it's not like it's not like we haven't done well for ourselves. That silage over there alone is, and I could probably just easily sell those 140 some bales, and if they were the 4,000 a piece I expect to get for them, or I'm sorry, 2,000 a piece I expect to get, that's 200 and some grand right there. So that'll be a nice little chunk of change for our farm. That'll give us some potential farm animals. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Take care of yourselves and have a good one.